to the Why We Disney podcast. We are so excited to have you guys join us today. And I want to mention really quick, make sure that you follow us on Instagram, you like our Facebook group, and also you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Super important. And if you want to continue to support us, those are major things you can do right now to help us. And also, I don't want to forget about this. So we have a brand new newsletter that goes out every single month. Do not miss a thing with the Why We Disney podcast. Go click the link in our bio on our Instagram. It will take you right there to sign up for that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. I hope you guys are so pumped.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another most magical podcast on the internet. That's right, the team of Why We Disney are here. I have my co-host Kaycee.
Hi.
And our sound engineer, Sydney.
Hi guys, so great to be back on the pod.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Kaycee and I went on trips recently, and there has been a lot of information that come out. So Sydney, who better person to just give us some rando questions for today's podcast? Today's podcast and episode is just going to be question and answer. Kara and Kaycee, tell us all the tidbits.
I'm so excited. I feel like our listeners are really going to enjoy kind of hearing about the ins and outs of both of your trips. Since you both went pretty recently. But first, I think we're going to talk about some news, some Disney news, and some of the headliners that have come out recently. So if you haven't heard yet, which I'm sure you have, Disneyland is officially opening at the end of this month. So crazy.
Crazy. How exciting is that for everyone out in California, though? They have been itching for this for a year, over a year, y'all. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can't believe that.
I know.
It's been very long overdue. But it will only be open to California residents, unfortunately. So the three of us can't just jump on a plane and go to Disneyland, although we really need to.
Which I'm so confused about. California makes no sense to me. So anyone and their brother can go to Touch of Disney, but no one can go to Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the difference between the capacity and the rides, because obviously they have to do all the sanitizing of the rides, and they are going to have limited capacity. Obviously, that's their way of kind of cutting down. They don't want a ton of travelers coming in, so they're keeping it to California residents,
Right.
But it's still pretty unfair.
But we are making steps in the right direction, though, which it's something to be excited about. I wish we could hop on a plane and go, obviously, but we'll wait our turn, I guess.
Yeah, it is rumored to open up to out-of-state people or residents, hopefully, I think mid-June or even in July.
Yeah.
So that's a rumor, though, not confirmed.
So is this pre or post opening of Avengers Campus?
I think it would end up being post opening. But obviously we have to wait for more news to come out. I am just itching to go to Avengers Campus. I've been waiting. I wanted to go last summer when it was supposed to open. I was all ready to go, but obviously that didn't happen. They're going to have a ton of new rides and food, and just, I don't know. Have you guys seen the official tour of it yet, or what Disney posted on their Instagram?
No. What?
They posted a walkthrough of what Avengers Campus is going to be like for
Really?
Yeah, it looks amazing. I feel like I'm in the Marvel universe, and I've been on such a Marvel kick lately. Obviously, we all have with WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then next month Loki's coming out, or not Loki, sorry. Yeah, Black Widow and Loki, I think both are coming out this summer. So just like I've said before, the year of Marvel.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh,
Super excited.
That is absolutely crazy. I'm so excited that the West Coast friends get to indulge on all their Disney, because it's almost like not feeling bad because, I'm still going to go to Disney, but they haven't had it in so long and they've had to take these long plane rides. I think of our friends, the Ashleys, that have had to travel coast to coast to get their fix of Disney. So I appreciate Disneyland opening for all of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I like how they did Touch of Disney as kind of like a little teaser for that. It's been so fun watching everyone's stories.
Like me and Kaycee's.
Yeah.
Exactly, like you guys have done on our Instagram. So like Kaycee mentioned before, if you're not following on our Instagram, you're missing out on all of our park trips and all of those days. We've covered both the Disney World parks and A Touch of Disney on our Instagram stories at one point in the last month. It's been crazy busy, but so much fun, which brings us into our main discussion. I don't know if we want to kind of tease it a little bit and take a commercial break right now or an ad break right now. Yeah, we think so.
Let's flip into an ad break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, guys. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about Kara and Kaycee's most recent trips. They didn't go together. They had two separate trips. One day the team is going to do a Disney trip though. And then we'll have to talk all about it. But I thought that we could start out by talking about Kaycee's trip first. So Kaycee went like the last week of March-ish. So by the time we're recording this, that was only a couple weeks ago, but when you guys listen to it, it'll be a month out. But it was still pretty recent. So how about we start with, who did you go to Disney with?
Sure. So I had two trips back to back. So I'm having to kind of like differentiate the two because I went with two separate friend groups. But this past time, I went with my friend Brooke, who's been on the podcast before, and my friend Olivia, and that was just the three of us. So yeah, it was just a super fun, super short girls trip. We stayed at Pop Century and had a blast. So much fun. Oh.
That seems like so much fun. Girls trips are always the best. And what parks did you guys end up going to?
We went to all of them. So now that you can park hop, which is amazing, I think we did 3 days total. We did like a half a day at, oh goodness. Well, I think we did a half a day at Epcot, and then our other 2 days we park hop between all 4 parks. So yeah, we went everywhere. Kara is not my park hopping girl, but
I know you and I are both park hopping people. Right. Kara's like, I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't get it.
I just love it. I love it. You can experience 2 completely different types of magic in one day. Completely different.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And it also kind of breaks up the day too.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. Now, when you're like planning for a trip like that and you're trying to look at like reservations, it's hard because you're like, okay, well, where do we want to be like that night? And where do we want to be in the morning? And, obviously it's all reliant on like the park reservations, right? Because if they're full that night, like you have to consider that, I was looking the other day and literally there are no park reservations for Hollywood Studios like through June, not one.
Oh.
Yeah. So by the time you guys listen to this episode, I will actually be in the Disney parks that week for the first time in over a year, finally. So I'm going with my family. Yeah, the last time I've been in a Disney park was, it was March 11th in 2020, the day it closed. So this is, again, long overdue. But my family is flying out here and we're going to go together. So we will have 4 or 5 days to go around the parks, and we love park hopping too. We were so lucky. Hollywood Studios, it was so hard to get a reservation. We were on every day. We finally were able to snag not 1, but 2 days because we really want to get those Rise of the Resistance passes. So, and that's also my favorite park. But we also always park hop in the middle of the day to Epcot and end up eating like dinner at Epcot every day that we go to the park. So we are a huge park hopping family. We understand.
Yeah, no, for sure. The biggest disappointment on the last trip that I went on is that we didn't get a boarding group for Rise the Resistance. It was so disappointing. And it's at 7 a.m. now. So like when you wake up at like 6:50 and you're like getting hype and you're like, okay, come on, you can do this. And you're like looking at your phone and then you don't get it. It's like my whole like morning, and I don't even have to be up until like 9. So like my whole morning is just like, I'm just walking around like pouting. And then Kara's over here like getting them twice. I'm so
Kara's reactions are amazing. So if you're not watching us on YouTube right now, you need to switch over because her reactions when Kaycee said she would be up at 9, it was insane. Kara's at the parks at like 5:30 in the morning.
At least.
no. 5:30.
It is a goal of mine. I really want the team to go to Disney at least for 4 days. And we would do the park each way for each other. Like we would do the park Kaycee's way one day, and then Sydney and Amanda and myself. Because they are all so different. And that's what I appreciate about our team, because we can get so many different perspectives. Right. I'm a crazy person. Kaycee said, wake up at 6:50. Girl, my trip, we were out the door by 6:50. At least we were on the bus most days by 6:50.
Are they even running the buses that early?
You already know. Yes. I'm checking the times. I'm doing the calculations. Absolutely. But we'll get to that on my day. I'm so sorry.
I can't wait to go to Disney with Kara. Like
I know. I think that's such a unique idea. I'm so excited. The 4 of us will definitely plan a Disney girls trip, and we'll have each person plan a different day.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. But going back to your trip, Kaycee, I have to ask if you could guess how many Joffreys do you think you had on that trip?
The entire trip.
The entire trip, total.
Well, so at least 3 a day. So I would say 9 total.
So you're waking up at 9 a.m. and you're having 3 coffees a day.
Okay, well, y'all all know like I closed down Magic Kingdom. So I have to grab me one like right before close. And excuse me, my body doesn't react to coffee like normal people. So like I can drink a cup of coffee and like go right to bed. It's just not a thing. So yeah, I'd say at least 3 a day.
Wow. So you definitely beat Kara still.
No. Kara had a ton of Joffreys on her last trip.
Not 3 a day though.
Okay.
Well, she was there longer too. So
she was.
I love that. That's awesome. So out of all of the parks, I feel like whenever I go, my favorite park changes each time I go.
Yes.
So as of your last trip, what is your current favorite park?
Okay. So any other day, anyone would ask me this question, I would say Hollywood Studios. Like, love Star Wars, love Toy Story Land. The atmosphere is really cool. My favorite park right now is Animal Kingdom. One, because the crowd levels are lower. Like, especially Animal Kingdom in the afternoon, after 2 o'clock. Like, it is so nice. So right now, Animal Kingdom. Never thought I'd ever say that, but yeah.
Have you ever been to Dino Land at like 10 in the morning? It feels like you own the park. There's no one else around you.
Completely empty. Yeah. I mean, you won't catch me on Dinosaur, but yeah, I've been.
That's a hard episode.
I love this team so much because we all do Disney so differently. Like when I go to Disney with Kara, I'm gonna ride Dinosaur, but I'm gonna be terrified the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay. The dinosaurs are my friends.
We'll get to experience it through each other's eyes, which will be such a unique experience for all of us.
Yeah.
And I happen to know, I don't know if it was this last trip or the trip before, but you said one day that you ended up riding like Little Mermaid 4 times in that one day. So what ride on your last trip did you ride the most, do you think? Or which ride would you ride over and over again in general?
Yeah, I would definitely do, you said it, the Little Mermaid. Like that's one ride that I will do over and over and over again. Like if I ever take my husband, he's like, okay, this is the last time. And I'm like, I don't know.
The last time this hour.
Yes, but that one I would do over and over again. I would say Everest, but I don't know, like after that second ride, you're like, okay, let's go do something else and like maybe we'll come back to this later. Kara's shaking her head yes. But yeah, so I'd say the Little Mermaid over and over and over and over again until the park closes. Yeah. For me.
Awesome. And then last question, so we can move on to Kara's trip, but what was the most magical experience you had on your last trip? I know there's probably so many moments to pick from, but just share something special for our listeners.
Yeah, there is so many moments, but it's the same moment every single time I go. And I've mentioned it, but like when I close down Magic Kingdom and Main Street is completely empty, it like I don't, there's nothing like it in the world. There really isn't. It is the most, and y'all been to Disney, like, you know how like during that hot time of the day, like it's so busy and like there's kids running around everywhere. Like I don't want to say chaos, but like in a sense, it's a lot, you know? But when like the parks calm down and everyone is out, like I'm always the last person that's getting on a bus, like the very last person. And it's just, there's something so peaceful. And I always like think about Walt when I'm on Main Street by myself. I'm like, this has had to have been his vision for this. Like he had to have sat in a room and imagined this, like before it even opened, you know, but this like beautiful scenery, like, you know how they light up Main Street at night. It's just, I'm going to stop talking because I will just continue to say the same things over again. But it is truly the most magical moment every single trip I go on is closing down Magic Kingdom and staying an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours after close. That's mine.
It releases a special serotonin in your brain. It's like a special kind of high, I think.
For sure. For sure. And I can't wait to make you guys do that on my day when we all go together. Y'all are gonna love it.
Kara's gonna be like up at 6, like, are you getting up yet? What do we do? She might fall asleep in Magic. She might fall asleep on the hub grass.
I do.
We will have slept in a little bit that day. We'll wake up at like 7:30. Yeah. Kara's like, oh my gosh.
I'm done at the park by then. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you have a question though, Kara? So like when you start your day at Epcot, like on your Epcot days, surely, well, because that park opens at like, or later, or surely you're not up at like 5:30 or 6 on an Epcot day, right? Or
Epcots are always a sleep in day.
Right.
But it don't like sleep in. So I think this past time Epcot opened at 10.
Yeah.
And so since I was at my resort, we took the Skyliner over, and I think we got on the Skyliner and they don't open the Skyliner. We were one of the first in line before the Skyliner was even running. They weren't even opening it until like 8:30 that day.
Okay.
So
you're up by 8 or 7:30 or 8.
Oh yeah. Yeah, way before then. But I'll get into that.
I don't wake up until 11 on an Epcot day.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all those magical details with us, Kaycee. I always love hearing about the ins and outs of everyone's trips. So now we're going to transition over to Kara and ask her all about her trip. You went like last week or the week before? It was like the first week of April.
Late March, early April.
Yeah.
And you were there for how many days?
8 days.
Which is insane. Okay. That's a long trip.
Because I normally only go once a year. So if you put everyone's like little weekend trips together, that's my big trip.
Yeah. And so how many of those 8 days were you actually in the parks? She's counting right now for everyone.
Sorry. 6.
6 of the 8. Okay.
Goes to 8 nights. I think 7 days, 8 nights.
Got it. So you have like a resort hopping or Disney Springs day in there.
Disney Springs day, yeah.
Okay.
She saw the Grand Floridian for the first time. Oh man.
I can't wait to see those pictures, girl.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And who did you go with on your last trip?
I went with my Disney buddy, which is my mama. She was on the trip with me, and then my friend Rachel, who has never been to Disney before, and she is like so not into the planning side of things. So she was like, Kara, if you plan it, I will go. And so I was like, well, you don't have to tell me twice. So I planned the trip back in 2019 is when we booked it, got postponed 2020. And so we finally went 2021. And we stayed at Art of Animation in the Little Mermaid rooms. But pro tip, don't stay in those rooms.
Why is that?
Give us
Yeah. So if you're booking Art of Animation, try your best to book Nemo. And here's why. Nemo is right in between the main lounge area, like the cafeteria and stuff, and the Skyliner. Literally, it took like 10 minutes to walk from our room and back. So when you have like the refillable cup, or like you're trying to get to the Skyliner, or, you know, we walked around to find the best spot for Signal for Rise of the Resistance, like the Little Mermaid suite is literally out the cut. Like it is so far away. So that's my pro tip.
Got it. That's a great tip. So Nemo is in that prime real estate that you want between Skyliner and the food.
Yes.
Perfect.
Exactly.
And you have to tell us, how did your friend like Disney as a first timer?
I think going with me especially, it was a little crazy. You know, Rachel would have loved to sleep in a little bit more, but she did. She really liked it. Even during COVID, she still got to see Tiana. We got to see her on a cavalcade. So that was awesome. And I mean, she did Disney. There were very few rides that we didn't go on. We got to eat more than around the world at Epcot, and it was really magical. So I'm glad she got to experience that.
I love that. Yeah, I always love taking friends who have never been before and like seeing it through their eyes and just being their personal tour guide. Yes. So I'm sure you had every second time to the T.
Absolutely.
Speaking of though, how about you walk through like what each of your park days looked like, and I don't know, what park you like to start at?
We started and end. So those of you that are watching me on YouTube, you can like watch this transition, but I planned it accordingly. So we started and ended in Magic Kingdom. The middle days were Epcot and Animal Kingdom. The other middle days were Hollywood Studios, and then the middle day was Disney Springs. So it was Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Disney Springs, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom.
Got it.
We planned it that way. Huh?
You had that break in the middle, that day off.
Yeah, we had that day off, and we needed it.
Yeah.
We needed it. Our feet were hurting, man. We put in the steps. As you guys know, I'm waking them up at dark 30 o'clock. And so literally sun was not out yet. So we put the miles in, definitely.
Yeah.
I love that. And you did also have some hosted opportunities while you were there. So if you want to talk about some of those, I'm sure our listeners would love to hear about that experience.
Yes. It was my goal really this year. In December, I took a training actually with Molly. She used to be, I think, Adventures with Molly. Now she's just Molly. She owns a creative business for entrepreneurs. And so I took her class and I was like, yes, 2021 is for Kara. I really want to grow my Instagram and be this influencer that I've always dreamed of being. And in 2021, I hit my 5,000. I'm trying to get to 7,000 before the end of the year, but that also includes, you know, working with clientele and companies and collaborating with other businesses. And I was so lucky, so blessed to be partnered with not 1, 2, but 3 restaurants in Disney Springs on my trip. Actually, the day we traveled down, I was hosted at Earl of Sandwich, which was absolutely amazing. Our Disney Springs day, we were hosted at Planet Hollywood. And then the day we did Animal Kingdom, we were done with Animal Kingdom by like 11:30 in the morning. And then at night we were hosted at Chicken Guy. So I was beyond blessed to have all three of those experiences. And I hope that you all like my posts and reels about them on Instagram, because it really was a great opportunity. And I hope that you all experience those restaurants in Disney Springs.
Yeah. Chicken Guy is like one of my favorite places. And it's like one of those quick places that you can go get in and out. Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites.
I'm a huge foodie, so I loved following along and seeing what you ate at each place. So I highly recommend our listeners go over to Kara's Instagram page, plugging it here real quick, Disney's Lost Queen, and go check out her hosted posts and her reels about it so you can see all the details and what she had. I was amazed at how much food each place gave you. There was a ton of food. And so I always wonder when I see these Instagram influencers at their hosted dinners, I'm like, there's no way they could sit down and eat all of that in one meal. And even when they bring their friends and family along, like it's still so much food. So I kind of have to ask you, girl, like, what did you do with the extra food?
That is so interesting. And it's crazy because I got a lot of messages about that. Like, what happened? It was really a running joke that the fridge in our suite was stocked the whole trip, because like we were taking full sandwiches home. Earl of Sandwich gave us these cakes and cookies. And so like we're walking out of Disney Springs with these bags of stuff. Couldn't finish our stuff at Planet Hollywood, where they were like, we don't want you to go home empty-handed. And so they give us like these cups of desserts. And so we get back from the parks and we're like stuffed, especially our day after Epcot. And we're like, oh, we have to eat the stuff in the fridge. Like there's so much, but it didn't go to waste. I will say that. I did not want to waste that food that was blessed to me. So we did make the best. We ate what we could.
That's awesome. Yeah. I am always a huge fan of leftovers, especially those sandwiches. I bet would be super convenient if you wanted to bring your lunch to the park and then just have dinner there, which is something my family does a lot. So that's great to hear. I'm sorry I had to ask you that.
Oh no, I'm so glad you did. That's like a little insider thing that the fridge was stocked the whole time.
Yeah. So as we all have established, you obviously go to the park, hit the ground running right at opening. So my question for you is, how long do you usually stay in each park? Like, are you there till dinner time? Like, I know you're not closing the park too.
Dawn to dusk is what I like to say. So on a typical Magic Kingdom day, Magic Kingdom opens at 8, right? So that means you at least get there by 7. At least, which means you're on the bus by 6:30, 6:40. Now, another insider tip, especially on the little TV thing, they're saying, oh, transportation will run 45 minutes. Liars. They are such liars. Give it, I would say, an hour and 15 minutes. There are buses running to Magic Kingdom at 6:30, 6:45. And then if you're one of those people like me, yes, you will be able to walk onto Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at 7:15 like I did. We were power walking and we were getting there, but we scanned in at 7:10. We did a lot of rides before 8 o'clock, but we stay until I think Magic closed that day at 8. And we really tried. I was like, if I don't close down this park, Kaycee's going to I'm going to hear about it for so long. But it was 8 o'clock and we were like, we've done everything we wanted to do. We've shopped, we've played, we've ate, we've done everything. So I would say at least a solid 12 hours other than Animal Kingdom, because what is there to do?
Mm-hmm.
But
just on Flight of Passage over and over again.
I guess so. I'm not standing in that line.
Is it really long? Because I'm trying to prepare myself.
Yeah, at the end of the night, it really does calm down a good bit at the end.
What about first thing in the morning, like opening?
If you get there earlier, you should be fine.
Oh yeah.
That queue, the Flight of Passage queue is like a 2-mile walk to begin with, but you should be fine if you get there before park opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pretty much walk on.
Okay, that's good to hear because that is a must do for my family. I've waited, my mom was like so determined. We waited like 5 hours the first time we rode it, 4 hours the second day we rode it in the same trip. And then because that ride, it makes us both cry from how beautiful it is every single time. It's just like the most amazing experience you could ever have. And you don't, it's not a theme park ride at all to me. So it is just amazing. I cry every single time just out of joy and happiness. And so that's definitely a must do. And I want to ride it multiple times this time to hold me over till my next trip.
Okay.
So that's good to hear.
And you'll be on your trip soon.
Yeah.
The day that this podcast released, everyone, don't watch the podcast right away. We'll go over to our Instagram and look at Sydney because she will be glowing in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. But I do have one last question for you, Kara, before we close this episode. So kind of like what you were saying, Kaycee recommending you close in the park. We also know that Kaycee highly recommends Joffrey's coffee. And we teased it a little bit earlier. You had Joffrey's quite a few times on your trip. And it was what, your first time trying Joffrey's or your second time?
Second. When I went with Brandon in November, I tried it and hated it. I couldn't even get it down. I couldn't finish it. But I think I figured out,
Is it different this time around though?
Different this time around. I started off with the Disney Springs was the day or travel day with the vanilla latte. Still wasn't impressed.
Right.
You
but
gave
then
it a 5 out of 10, I believe.
I think I did.
I responded right away to your story and I said, Kaycee's going to be crushed.
I honestly like sided with her a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I probably would have gave it maybe a 6, like in Disney Springs.
So my goal, because I know that Kaycee loves Joffrey so much, and I did. I wanted to give it another try, and I'm all about doing new things in Disney. Oh, hey, girl. I was like, okay, so apparently in all the parks they have this special Joffrey's drink. So I wrote them down as best I could. I did my research, and I did. I think I had I had 6, if I do the math right. But I know one day I missed one, and I got the wrong one in Animal Kingdom. I didn't get the Lion King one or whatever it was. But my favorite fun story was the first one. It was Mission Space. Mission to Mars. Mission to S'mores. There it goes. The one you can get in Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
I was drinking. It was right after I did the post, right? Yeah. And I was like, oh, guys, let's take our drinks into Carousel of Progress, like cool down. You know, I'm wearing that pretty blue dress. I stand up and it spills everywhere. All over my dress, all over my shoes. My shoes were stained the rest of the trip. My white shoes I just bought.
Oh, no. So that was my favorite latte.
These things happen. So when I go, I would love to get another Mission to S'mores because it was so good, what I had of it.
And didn't you have an alcoholic one too?
I did. That one was in Epcot.
What was that one called, or do you remember?
It was just one of the ones with the festival going on. I think it was Joffrey's drink. It was at Sunshine Griddle, and that thing was strong.
It had vodka in it?
I think it had whipped vodka, and I'm not even a fan of whipped vodka, especially if it was Pinnacle whipped vodka. I had some bad memories with that. But I was not a fan of it. I really was not. But I mean, it got the job done. I definitely drank it. I wasn't letting that money go to waste.
Right. Exactly. I was so happy when you posted about the Mission to S'mores latte. You rated it a 7 out of 10, but the best part was that you were like, I would drink this again. Like, this is not something that is not worth the money to me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I would. And I do. I want to get it again. And I actually have the whole thing.
So you have officially made both me and my mom curious about Joffrey's coffee, Kaycee, because I was actually talking to her on the phone after one of our episodes. She is a loyal listener to our podcast. And
I'm
she
sure.
said, Kaycee keeps talking about Joffrey's. Like, are we going to get a latte when we're there and split it and see what we think? Because we've never had Joffrey's before.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we're definitely going to try Joffrey's. But I have to ask Kaycee where the best location is, because I want the best impression of Joffrey's as my first drink. So which one? I was looking at Mission to S'mores. That was the one that I was going to pick. But what does the expert recommend?
The expert. Oh my gosh. So my two that I will highly recommend to anyone trying Joffrey's for the first time ever is the Mission to S'mores latte. You can only get it in Tomorrowland, or you can get it at Disney Springs, but not in the kiosk. You have to actually go to the Joffrey's like store in Disney Springs. So you can get it two places. Mission to S'mores is my number one recommendation. My second one is the Toffee Flight, which you could get at the Skyliner. The Joffrey's right there if you're waiting in line for the Skyliner. That's my second one. So if you're trying it for the first time, obviously have a ton of Joffrey's because they're all great, but make sure, do not leave Disney this next time you go, Sydney, and not try at least the Mission to S'mores and the Toffee Flight at the Skyliner. Where are you guys staying?
We're staying off property, so I think
Okay.
the Sheraton Vistana, but it's still like a very quick drive over to Disney World. But we are actually going to Magic Kingdom on our first day. It'll be the day that this podcast released. And so I'm going to go. We always go to Tomorrowland first. We're right type of people. So we go straight on over to Tomorrowland. And that's what I'm going to be doing first thing, because I'm going to need that caffeine boost for the rest of the day.
Right. Right. And I want you to like do a live Instagram story. Like, this is what I think. This is what I would rate it 1 out of 10. Mission to S'mores latte.
Yes. Just like Kara.
I'm so excited.
But I had so much fun with this episode. I don't know about you guys, but I love hearing about everyone's trips, and especially because my trip is coming up, I'm getting excited about all the things that I'm going to do and try. But if you wanted to follow along on our trips or even see our past trips, go over to our Instagram right now. First of all, make sure you're following us so you don't miss any updates there. But you can also revisit some of our park days. We have highlights, story highlights on our Instagram page, and it captures Kara's trip, Kaycee's trip. Amanda went, our social media manager went and posted and took over our account for the day. I'm going to be taking over the account for the week that I'm there and saving those to our highlights as well. So you'll never miss a memory in the park from us. So just make sure you're following along. And thank you so much, Kara and Kaycee, for opening up and sharing your experiences and your trip. I'm sure we all loved it. I love episodes like this, so maybe we'll do more in the future if you guys liked this episode.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think after you get back, Sydney, we're going to like flip this, and Kara and I are going to interview Sydney on her trip that she went on. So ton of magic on our Instagram, our Facebook, obviously our newsletter, our TikTok. Goodness gracious. Like, if you are following any piece of this podcast at all, like, it is just full of magic. We love creating for you guys. We love to do this. I know I speak for all of us when I say that. But yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Have an absolutely magical day, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.